everyone, this is Professor Shanae Chapman. We're going to talk a little bit today about different types of ways to gather feedback from users using different types of interviews and walkthroughs. So as you are reading for this week about different styles of interviews, also keep note that it's really a conversation as well. So definitely go in with your questions that you want to ask the user, but also listen to what they are telling you and pick up if there are additional questions to dive into that you may not have thought of until they have mentioned a particular topic. So when I do customer interviews, I always learn something new. I always add in additional questions because I'm not only using my script that I've created, but I'm also actively listening to the person who's speaking, and I am responding to what they are saying. So for example, I've had people who are professional engineers and students learning engineering use programs for coding and building new applications. And one of the questions that I've asked them goes around the lines of, how long have you studied a particular programming language? How do you work with other team members? What are some of the challenges you have with the products that you use today? And what's missing from the products that you have today? What are some of the workarounds that you have created because you are not finding what you need in the tools you use today? So listening to what they say, listening to the information that they share, and then asking follow-up questions like, okay, so maybe because you have security protocols at your enterprise company, you have to adhere to certain standards, so you use a VPN, use secure tools, and maybe you also test out new tools in a way that you are able to do that without breaching any confidential information, and diving into how does that process work. So now I'm asking questions around cybersecurity and VPNs. So just to say, don't be afraid to go down some rabbit holes with your interviews. A good facilitator always brings the conversation back, so go down that rabbit hole. For me, I like to take a look at the time. I'll give people 5 minutes, and then I'll start gracefully gearing the conversation back on track to the questions that I have in my script. And some things that you can say to get people back on track include, that's great, thank you for sharing that. Do you mind if I go through some of the other questions that I have in my list with you today? That's an option. So just telling people in advance that, I have a list of questions. Do you mind if we continue to go through that list? Is one option. Another option is, that's really interesting. I love hearing more about that. We are short on time, so I just want to make sure that we are being accountable to your time, and want to get back to the questions that we have at hand. So also, using time as a reason to get people back on track works wonders as well. And this week, you also learned a little bit about early evangelists, so people who adopt new technologies and new services before the general population. And these people are definitely very important to interview and to get feedback from early and often. And again, as we talked about earlier this week, listen to what they're not saying. So if they say that, oh yeah, I found this solution, I signed up for like a food delivery service and I get food every week, but I get too much food because I am single, and they have meals that are for families, so I always have too many leftovers. So you just heard a problem. She didn't say, or he didn't say that they had a problem, but you just heard that the amount of food does not meet their needs, is over the amount that they actually need. So being sure about listening and observing and hearing when people are experiencing challenges, and picking up on that, and diving in deeper and asking some of those follow-up questions around, so how much food would you expect to receive? What expectations do you have? What would work better for you? Would it be helpful for you to have the option to skip a week of your food delivery service and be able to pick up a following week? So asking some of those questions and really get into the root of what's helpful and what's not for your users and your potential customers definitely is a way to create the best products in the world. So happy to chat with you again, and I will talk to you next week.